welcome back to our show. This is a very special show. We are beginning our introduction of our Nurses in Charge and Leadership, and this actually starts the beginning of introduction to our leaders here at Nurses in Charge. My name is Casey Pacheco, and I am the Executive Director of Nurses in Charge, and I am so honored and pleased to welcome Dr. Jamie Feldstein. Dr. Jamie Feldstein, she is our Regional Director to the Americas for Nurses in Charge. So she covers a large span of both North and South America. Welcome, Dr. Feldstein. Welcome in.
Thank you so much for having me, Casey.
Yes, so happy to have you. We're hoping that this interview makes our viewers, our followers, and most importantly, our members feel as though they know you just a little bit more. You are a beautiful human being, and we're so grateful to have you on our team.
Thank you.
So, first of all, of course, I have to ask the real question. How did you become a nurse? Like, take us through your nursing journey. Why did you become a nurse? How did you end up in this field of nursing?
It's always a great question, and I feel like it's almost the most boring of answers that I have. When I was young, I always imagined I'd be a doctor, and I kind of never swayed from that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to go to medical school and all that. And when I graduated high school and was looking into college programs, I wasn't feeling some of those science classes that were prerequisites for like the health science programs. I had grown up in a very small religious high school, very small group of people, and felt like I just wanted to branch out and grow up. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to the public college where there's lots more people, and I'm just going to apply to nursing and see what happens. I was 16 years old at the time, so I probably didn't put too much thought into it. And I just said, hey, maybe nursing's a stepping stone into being a doctor later down the road.
Okay.
And I went to nursing school, and I'm still a nurse.
Yes, so you went to nursing school, but now you are Dr. Feldstein. So you actually went on, you got your BSN, and then you got your MSN, and then you got your Doctor of Nursing practice. How was that experience for you?
It was not something I think I thought of originally. I went into a diploma program originally. I absolutely loved the education I received and truly felt that was what a nurse did. And I just felt as I progressed through the various degrees
Mhm.
that to keep my edge or to keep ahead of the curve, I
Mhm.
needed to go back to school. And so looking back on it, I definitely would never want to go back and do another doctorate. Um,
No.
it was exhausting. When I think back, it's all truly a blur. And I
Wow.
want to inspire others to do that despite all of those difficulties.
Yes, well, now let's talk real talk because we really want them to get to know you. And you know me, I get up close and personal. So you went through this. Did you have a family going through your doctorate, or how was that juggling a family and pursuing an advanced degree? Because you're saying you started off as a diploma nurse, where actually many people, nurses in charge is not just for registered nurses. So we have CNAs, we have LPNs, and they might be listening to you, very fascinated, but like, how did she go from diploma nurse all the way to doctorate? So, what was that journey like?
I think there's some humility in being a diploma nurse and recognizing not just nursing, but other healthcare professions and the roots of it in terms of caring for people, whether you continue to work at the bedside or not. If you lose sight of why we're in a healthcare profession, I kind of have an issue with that in terms of just my own values of what nurses or healthcare providers do. Um, I jokingly will say it was the postpartum hormones that made me join or enroll in my doctorate program. My youngest daughter was 6 months at the time. Uh, and I probably was like, oh, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. I'll start my doctorate. Why not?
Yes.
Again, I feel like it maybe didn't put too much thought into it and just jumped right in.
Yes. But
So I
you
had two
completed
little
it.
I did. I had two little kids during that time. I definitely have some regrets of focusing on school and not them while they were little.
Yes,
But seeing my colleagues then be inspired and go for their PhDs after me is kind of exactly why I wanted to do it. That there's a reason that having credentials after your name are not the be all and end all, but they definitely can give you a voice and can give you an edge, and bring you to tables that maybe you didn't once have access to be able to affect some positive change.
absolutely. And we're so grateful for the work that you're doing in Nurses in Charge, because many don't know about some of the work that our regional directors play in the background. So I'm just going to share with the audience, but you just completed doing some heavy research. All of our regionals, they put together a report for the World Health Organization, actually looking at many different countries and the sustainability of their healthcare workforce throughout the diaspora of the countries that they cover. And it was a pretty intense paper. However, Dr. Felstein, you were able to actually contribute very well to that paper. So your doctorate came in handy. And
It
we
has to be worth something at this
oh,
point.
it's gonna be worth a lot. And that leads us to a question. As far as your some of the challenges you faced. I know you are in education. You were in education. You were actually the program director of a nursing school. So what are some of the challenges you face in your nursing career in education, if you don't mind sharing?
No, absolutely. One of one of I think the things that I learned the most, um, maybe it was a light bulb moment for me in the doctorate, was I had hoped a different degree would open different doors for me and would allow me to grow professionally. And one of the aspects of growing professionally would be to have a better income. And I quickly saw that that never would change, that particularly in academia, the benefits of maybe having summers off or not working shift work, meant you weren't earning as much money. And so seeing that there are so many passionate, well educated nurses out there who really want to be building the next generation, but choose not to go into education because of the financial barriers, not only to completing a master's degree or a terminal degree, which may be a prerequisite for being faculty, um, but that there was almost no financial incentive of putting all that money into a degree and not having an income that really changed after it. And so for me, that's definitely something I still want to work on and I still am really passionate about, that there really is a discrepancy between how nurses are viewed, and how they're valued from a compensation perspective compared to some other allied health professions or other professions outside of healthcare.
You make a really profound point, because and just being real here, I've had colleagues, and they've gone on to become nurse practitioners, and I see the pay scale, and I'm like, whoa. And that's as much as, depending on where you are, location, that's some some RNs are making. Actually, I know some RNs at the bedside who make more than some nurse practitioners. Story for another day. But what you're saying is so true, because you went on putting money and time, and you didn't see that in your remunerations for being a doctor of nursing practice. So that for anybody listening, if they want to chime on and chime in, now is your time. Leave some comments below. And I also say that there are nurses out there, which I think Nurses in Charge is very, very keen about, who have learned the system, and they have learned to use their degrees and use their how to say it, use their knowledge and put it into different ways of helping, where they could get some of that financial investment back, return on investment back. So definitely, I think you're making a really good point, and I hope we're gonna get some chats about this. But let's hop into what drew you into Nurses in Charge. What was the thing? And I was the one, I remember being with you. I was so shocked because I was telling you about this global nonprofit and all the things that we want to do. And you were like, Casey, sign me up. I am in. What was that thing? What were some of the points that made you say, I have to be part of this?
I'm going to say, first of all, it was you, Casey, and I'm not just saying that. Um, there was something about you in particular. There's something about Dr. Niampu, the nurturing aspect of Nurses in Charge, and just this community of individuals from such diverse backgrounds. It's not lip service. It really is the real deal, where people are genuinely wanting to do something bigger than them. And I felt that I was at a point in my life, personally and professionally, that I want to offer something bigger than I was doing. And it just felt like the right thing to do. And I felt I'm going to take a leap of faith in this Nurses in Charge. I've never heard of it before, but I think, like I said, I've jumped into other things, and it just has been so amazing in this short time, just to get to know people, to get to understand the mission, and really be able to have some agency in moving this work forward.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you this question because I don't want to take it for granted that there are nurses all around the world who are part of Nurses in Charge, or they're just really interested as far as what is this Nurses in Charge thing going on. When they look at you and they hear that you're a doctor of nursing practice, and I just want to say, you are just the sweetest person ever. But how do you feel about collaborating with some nurses around the world where maybe in their country a nurse can't even, because they don't have the resources, they can't even get to the level to be a doctor of nursing practice? How do you feel collaborating and supporting these communities?
I think if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be doing myself a service. I really feel strongly about the mentorship I received when I was a brand new nurse, and really looking at how nurses took you under your wing, and really supported you. And it wasn't about the time, it wasn't about the compensation. There was a genuine desire to build and grow others. And I feel that that's always been kind of at the core of all the roles I've previously held, that I want to help grow others. And it doesn't mean you have to have the higher education. I
Mhm.
speak with a lot of privilege, that my parents helped support me when I was younger, and my employer helped with funding. And so, in looking at those pieces, they shouldn't be prohibitive for individuals to be able to do amazing work without having the formal education. And I think that speaks to having that formal education and feeling stagnant and not being able to move forward, is
Mhm.
that flip side, that you really don't need that education in one way, and that there's so many opportunities to build your knowledge and skills in ways that aren't within the confines of a university.
And I think that's what's so amazing about the Nurses in Charge community, especially the project that you and some of the other doctors of nursing, what you're doing, which I have to speak to because it's absolutely phenomenal. You have people in different countries where they have problems and they want to create solutions, but they don't have the authority to write articles or do the level of research that you guys have done, and you are going to actually present it to people who can help and provide fundings and grants. And it might be work in the background, but I will spotlight you and I will put you to the front, because sometimes when you have a loud mouth like me, you also need that. Nursing is very heavily evidence-based practice. So we have nurses out there who, they have the evidence, they have evidence that practice can be better, policies can be better. Even some of them are brave enough to become entrepreneurs and actually develop products and services, but without that research behind them, it's a really hard thing to make their case. So pairing you guys up, and you're actually saying, hey, we're not just going to work on this for our nurses out there who don't have a PhD, but we're actually going to invite nurses who are along their way to mentor with us and see how we develop this project or how we write these research articles so that everybody benefits. I can't finish singing your praises because this is all done where you're experimenting and you're not being paid for it, but one day you will be, and you are actually changing the face of nursing, and this is what we need. But a lot of times it doesn't happen because we don't have, no one is willing to put the funds out there. So to have a group of nurses such like yourself, where you've been mentored, you've grown and you've gotten that, and you're putting it back out into the world, you're I you're just gonna fly. I just know it's just amazing. I just have to share it because you guys are so humble, but I just have to tell the world just how amazing you guys are as nurses who are very well educated and want to give back. Absolutely amazing. Now, I done rambled on, but I would love to know what do you foresee for the future of nursing? What are your thoughts on where we're heading, where we could head, where we should head? I just want to know your ideas.
Mhm. I'm starting to see, across maybe more so the developed countries, positions for nurses in higher leadership, whether it's at government levels, and sort of beyond. I really see where nurses can have that voice and really say, you don't need to be a medical doctor to be a chief of staff, and really inform high level policy and decision making around funding for nurses, education for nurses. I feel like we heard there was a nursing shortage 20 some odd years ago, and we're still hearing it. And it will be in the thick of it for, I'm sure, a very long time. I would love to see where nursing is a profession that people want to go into and want to stay, and that the conditions allow for them to stay working at the bedside. I don't want to see registered nurses leave the bedside, where they do bring a level of critical thinking and a different level of expertise, but that we build up the workforce and those that are perhaps CNAs or LPNs or other healthcare professionals can stay in the profession and be supported to grow into registered nurses if they so choose, um,
Mhm.
rather than this just constant churn of people coming in, getting burnt out, and leaving. So,
Mhm.
really being intentional about how we actually sustain the workforce, um, for
Mhm.
us not to be constantly in a shortage.
Absolutely. And I know you're involved in our GAINS program, which is the Global Accountability for International Nursing Sustainability. So, that nursing sustainability, I know it's so dear to your heart. And what sustainability looks like in your regions, it's different because if you think about what sustaining a nurse in North America looks like, where you are in Canada or in the United States, sustaining a nurse there may look like burnout prevention, mental health, and wellness programs. Whereas sustaining a nurse in Brazil may look completely different, or in South America, very different, right? So I think when we focus on what it means to sustain a nurse on an international level, you are really speaking to the future of nursing, because a lot of these countries, they are familiar with doctors. They're not so familiar with doctors of nursing.
Mhm.
Mhm. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of the screen, and I know you're shy, but I'm gonna put you bold in the screen because I want to know if you can speak directly. If we have nursing students in the pipeline looking at this, if we have nurses who are like really burnt out, maybe they're facing bullying, maybe they're facing a hostile work environment, and they're just so burnt out. What are some words you would give them or tell these nurses to encourage them to keep going, to encourage them to take a break if they need? What are some things you would say? So I'm going to take myself out and I'm going to allow you to speak to these nurses.
Mm. I don't want to be cliche, but I also want to say don't give up. I think to your point, when you're in a really difficult environment, and nurses are in difficult environments all the time, with horizontal violence, with bullying, in multiple environments, don't give up. You will find your people and you will find that place where you thrive, and continue to really soul search and find that place where you thrive. There are nurses out there who are willing to support you, who are willing to help you grow and mentor you. You just need to find that place. Nursing is such a beautiful profession that there are so many avenues that you can take. But don't lose sight of the compassionate piece of the profession and why we do what we do. Um, Ultimately, to care for others and to improve care and quality of care for others. So, in all of that, don't lose sight of that piece.
That's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it's so true. I had to go all the way to Canada to find you. But you surely are my tribe. You're my peoples, Jamie. And I believe that we're such in a connected world that a nurse no longer has to stay in a toxic environment. They don't have to subject themselves to an environment that just does not support them. They can go find it because it does exist. Oh, such great words. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, my last question, and then I'm going to stop torturing you by means of camera. But my last question for you is it's a little bit personal, it's a little bit reflective as far as what is the nursing legacy you would like to leave behind. And the reason I am asking this is because when we think about nursing, so many times we think about the pioneers of nursing, and most people they automatically go to Florence Nightingale because she did so much. But when 30, 40 years from now, when they hear about Jamie Feldstein, Dr. Jamie Feldstein, what are some things you would like to say? What would you like to be said about you and the work and the legacy that you left behind, whether it's in your personal career or it's a part of Nurses in Charge or a collaboration of all of it? What are some of the things that would really make you say, man, this was worth it? This was a career that I felt as though I lived out my human purpose.
Mm, it's such a hard question. It's a good question. I think it's twofold. For me, the nursing legacy I want to leave, sort of on that micro level, is for the patients and families I've worked with over the many years, that they remember the care I gave, and that in some way, in a very difficult and probably very sad situation, there was some good out of it, or they remembered me and maybe some of that comfort that I offered. And then I think the bigger piece, or that bigger picture, is I truly feel like there is more I have to offer. And so my legacy would be doing something that really shakes things up and that challenges the status quo. And some of this work around the WHO guidelines really, for me, highlight how we all have the same struggles around the world. The
Mhm.
context is slightly different, but there are so many similarities. And I just really hope to use my knowledge and my skills and my abilities to actually affect change. I feel like I've seen the same thing in my career. And I don't want to retire seeing the same thing. So I still have a lot of life left in me to be able to say I changed something or I did something really good.
Yes, and I believe you already did, but I think you have a lot much more to go. You have a lot of room, or what they say, runway. You have a lot of runway to go, and you're just getting fired up. So I thank you so much. I thank you for your contributions thus far to the field of nursing. I thank you so much for being on board and helping us develop Nurses in Charge as we mentor nurses and support nurses all around the globe. And I just really want to tell you, Dr. Jamie, that when your children look back at this interview some years from now, or maybe when even you look back at this interview a year or two from now, I hope you have so much to say in terms of that you actually accomplish, some of the things that make you feel wow, like I can't believe I did that. And then I hope a couple years from now I'll have you back again and you can tell us and you can share with us some of the things that you have accomplished.
I hope so.
Okay. Well, I thank you for joining our show. I look forward to hearing the comments from both our members and the public. If anybody's looking at this and they say, wow, I would love to be part of Nurses in Charge. I would love to be part of Dr. Feldstein. You can feel her love, you could feel her nurturing presence, and you want to be part, you want to support her, you want to support her team. I definitely will say, please join Nurses in Charge. It is nursesincharge.org. You can find us there. And then also, when you do join Nurses in Charge, let us know how Dr. Feldstein can support you and how you could support us and how we could support you, because it is definitely a place where we want leaders and we want leaders to be loved and supported around the world. So if you're watching this and you're like, I want to be part of this, nursesincharge.org, that's the place you would go to connect. I thank you so much. If anybody is watching this and they have a company or they would like to do a collaboration with Nurses in Charge, feel free to email us at thenursesincharge@gmail.com and we will be sure to get in touch with you. Well, this wraps up our show for today. I am so grateful to have you here, Dr. Feldstein. We will be hearing much more about you and your projects and the labs that you have coming down. And I am going to wrap it up here. Thank you for joining and thank you for your interest, viewers, on Nurses in Charge. I'll see you later.